Today on FSI, we are going to be breaking down the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from a betting perspective. Now, we're currently 33-13 in our official moves on Twitter, so make sure you're following that account. I'm your host, Tom Cross, and to my right is our analytics expert, Stephen Fu.
Thanks for tuning in this week. The Bucs are on the road as a 3-point underdog. They're plus 145 on the money line, and the Saints, they're minus 165.
I'm shocked by the Saints spread. Now, the Saints, they have gotten worse on defense. They lost their starting linebacker, Quan Alexander, so that's going to be tough on them. While the Bucs seemingly got better, so having the Saints at -3 here is a little bit of a shocker. I thought it might be a pick or -2.5, but the Saints, they really do got the Bucs number. They were able to dominate them on defense in both matchups, so it does make a little bit of sense here.
Both of these teams struggled in their wild card matchup. The Saints didn't put up that many points. They only scored 21 points against the Bears. And that Bucs defense allowed over 300 yards to a third-year quarterback. He had less than 100 combined passes in the NFL. However, this should be an intriguing third matchup between these division rivals.
Quarterback Brees has looked good since coming back from his injury. He's been effective. Now, he has not been a great thrower of the ball, but partly of that has to do with his weapons, but he keeps getting it done, and Coach Sean Payton puts him in the best place possible and also disguises everything very well. So he is a very effective passer in that offense.
Tom Brady had a phenomenal game against Washington. He had 380 passing yards along with 2 passing touchdowns with them. He did have a low passing percentage because his receivers are dropping wide open passes, but I think he could have easily had over 400 yards that game.
Now, at the beginning and middle of the season, the Saints' offensive line was a little bit beat up. A lot of their tackles and left guard and right guards were missing games. But over the past 5 games, they've actually been pretty solid, and they're a strong unit. I actually give them a grade of an A- when they're all playing, and they are going to be all playing in this game. Now, Tampa Bay has a B- to B level pass rush. When they blitz their linebackers, it can be effective, but they do struggle at getting pressure just in a 4-man set. So I got to give an advantage here to the Saints. I don't expect much pressure on Drew Brees outside of blitzing. Mike Thomas is back, and that's great news for the Saints. He has not been very effective, obviously, since he got back, although he did catch a touchdown, and he actually caught a ball that was thrown behind him by Brees. Now, when I look at number 11, he is the X-Factor Smith. He was able to get open on a number of third downs, and obviously he's always dangerous in the special teams game. When you talk Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, the weakest part is their secondary. They're good, they're not great, and they're not scrubs either. Now, Carlton Davis is back, and he played against the Redskins, but as Coach Bruce Arians said, they really struggled from overconfidence. Once Alex Smith was out, they really stopped playing hard in the secondary, but obviously they are not going to be sleeping on the Saints. But at the end of the day, the Saints do have the better weapons when you stack it up against the secondary, so I like the Saints' weapons in this game.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have one of the most dangerous receiving corps. And that includes Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, and Chris Godwin. Now, there's only one offense I think is comparable to them, and that's probably the Kansas City Chiefs. But this week, they're up against a top 5 pass defense. So I think it's going to be a tough matchup for both sides of the ball.
Running back Alfred Kamara was back, but it does not look like he's over the Kung flu because he was lethargic and was not very effective against the Bears. Now, against Tampa Bay, it's going to be tough because Devin White is going to be back, and obviously they got Levante David and that stout run defense. These guys really shut down the underneath stuff, the screens, and the run plays. So at the end of the day, I do feel like Tampa Bay has an advantage here. Kamara is not running at his full strength right now. Advantage Tampa Bay.
The Bucs' leading rusher, Ronald Jones, has not been cleared to practice yet. He is dealing with a quad injury, so he's been replaced by Leonard Fournette at the running back position. Unfortunately for Tampa Bay, they have not established a consistent run game, so their offense is quite predictable. I think the Saints have no problem stopping them on the ground because they have a top 5 run defense.
The Bucs have gotten murdered in both matchups. But at the end of the day, that was not a good Buccaneers team that they played. They played basically a preseason game against them in week 1. Obviously, that was the first time Tom Brady had been out there with this new core. And in the second game, it was Antonio Brown's first game. And since then, over the last 3 games, Antonio Brown has looked like a stud. So at the end of the day, there is going to be some benefits here for the Bucs. Now, I do feel like the Saints aren't playing their best football. Drew Brees does not look very well in sync. Mike Thomas has a little bit of a dead leg, obviously coming back from an injury. And Kamara has not gone over COVID-19. So at the end of the day, if you buy a half point here, you might be in a good position with the Bucs. But I would recommend actually teasing them and getting them plus 10, forcing the Saints to blow them out.
Both of these teams have very similar abilities on the offensive side and defensive side of the ball. So I wouldn't mind taking the points here because they've already played 2 times and I don't expect a high scoring game here. It would be smart buying up to plus 4 points if you're taking the Bucs.
Now remember, we can't predict injuries, the weather, COVID, or PEDs, so make sure you follow our Twitter for our official moves. We're currently 33-13 through there. Now that does it for us. Do me a favor and smash the like button and subscribe. Tell us who you're going to be taking in the comments below.
We don't care about favorite teams here. Our focus is on making you money. Follow our social media on Twitter, Instagram, or our webpage. The links are below.